deal.
Yep. Yes, that's a good idea. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Ready to go when you are.
Are we waiting for Dave or?
We are not. All right, good evening and welcome to the City of Sunbury Council meeting. It is June 21st, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. Would you please join me in a moment of silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance?
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor St. John,
Here.
Mr. Capel,
Here.
Mrs. Cooper, here, Mr. Grumney.
Here.
Mr. Martin,
Here.
Mr. Ghost,
Here.
6 present, and Mr. Neff is absent.
There's 6 here. We did have a meeting on June 7th of 2023. There are minutes in your packet. Would anybody like to make a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
A motion by Mr. Martin.
I'm actually going to pull Mr. Martin and cite a correction here.
Wonder if
You have to have a second.
Sort of make a second.
I think it is.
I'll make
Have to have a second.
I'll make a second. Joe St. John on the second. Any comments? None?
Yes.
None heard? Yeah.
On ordinance 2023.13.
Yes.
The motion and second to suspend the rules was myself and Ms. Cooper. Not Tim and Mr. Grumney.
Okay,
You see that?
Yeah.
Looks like it was just a copy paste
Because they did the next one.
because they did the next.
Yeah, I caught that one too.
Right.
Great memories, great memories.
To the minutes.
Good job. Any other comments or edits? Roll call.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper.
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost.
Yes.
6 yeas.
All right, we're on to the visitor section. We have no scheduled visitors. Are there any visitors in the stands that would like to come on up and speak with your city council members? Please.
In the stands.
Future seating.
Yeah, amphitheater.
Yeah. Oh, good point. Yeah.
We do have a record turnout here. I think we have 7 folks in the audience, which is a record for 2023. We're excited you're here.
Welcome. I traveled really far too.
Is it Colorado?
No, Illinois.
Illinois, okay. Double that up. All right. We're on to committee reports, Mr. Ghost.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Earlier this evening, we had our monthly finance committee meeting and you all were here. The main item of discussion was ordinance number 2023.15 that we have for this evening, which is the ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $4 million for improving our facilities. We had Brian Cooper here with Baker Tilly and Chris Franzman, our bond counsel, Squire Patton and Boggs, and Mr. Dave Collinsworth, our consultant, and they gave us a very detailed presentation, as you know, and answered all of our questions. It was a healthy discussion. It was all recorded for anyone out there who would like to listen to it. And then secondarily, we did talk about our budget with Ms. Steffen. Everything, the books appear to be in pretty good shape. Revenues are up 19%. So that's good. And I think that's it.
Great update. Great meeting. Thank you. Mr. Grumney.
No, I'd just like to thank the gentleman that presented for the education. I thought it was a very good, concise presentation and helped explain the issuing of bonds and made it pretty clear. So.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Mr. Kaplan.
I second what he said and don't have any other updates.
I third the update. This is good.
No committee reports. Do we have a zoning meeting on the 26th?
We do.
Okay.
Mr. Martin.
No committee report.
All right, great. We are on to the police report. And the chief and deputy chief are, I believe, out of town this week supporting another county at this point. And I do not believe we have a police report. Is that correct?
There wasn't one to read in a,
Okay. We probably had 2 updates in one at our last meeting. They had the report for about 30 minutes.
yeah.
Good report. You will notice on our new.
Have they used the drone yet? Is it flying yet?
They have.
Okay.
They have not. I do know the 4 pilots have gotten access to the, I'll call it the online training portal and
yeah.
pursuing the FAA certification.
Right. They said that last meeting, but I just wondered how far along they've gotten with all of that.
They haven't gotten very far.
Okay.
Yeah, no flights yet.
He hasn't.
We'll say we have hired 2 new officers that start on July 3rd.
That's a great update. We have sworn in 2 officers. We swore in 1 this morning and 1 last week. One came from Morrow County and Mount Gilead. Yeah. And both have very strong handshakes, looking for a lot of, yeah, I don't know if they like, just beware. Shaking guys' hands.
The last thing you need is broken fingers.
That's true. That's true. You will notice some new decals on the Chevy Silverados. We've got American flag emblem in the Chevy logo in the back and looks sharp. Just got done today. All right, we are on to the administrator's report. Mr. Hennessy.
So just 2 quick items related to the city streets. In my report, we talked about Evening Street has been shut down temporarily. You may recall that we had done a little bit of repair work earlier this year around the storm drain there. We went back to basically, this is part of our 2023 street program. So we're about ready to have that Cape seal. So we had to go back in and make some additional improvements to that. So they currently have it open. It's essentially what happened is the connection on a storm drain or pipe had come disconnected. And so you had water basically underneath the road kind of washing away the base. So we're working on that. Hopefully we'll have that here wrapped up here in the next, hopefully before the end of the week. So, and then the other thing I just wanted to note, I did get a report from our inspectors, CT Consultants regarding Fairlane Drive. That's been closed in terms of access to the intermediate school. They had anticipated they would have that open tomorrow, but unfortunately they did the proof roll test. The base is a little spongy, and so they've got to do some additional work on the base before they can put the road back in. So we'll monitor that and keep you posted on when that'll be ready. That's it.
All right, we're gonna kick it right over to the engineer. It sounded like you wanted to add on to that Fairlane.
Just that it's a lengthy process to restabilize that soil, so it may take a week or so. They put down lime stabilization. It takes a while chemically to actually work, so it won't be a quick fix. But thankfully they proof rolled it and found that it was bad before.
Yes.
So they accepted it.
Great. Worst case scenario, I mean, the schools have already authorized Pulte to keep that closed until school reopens. Is that correct?
That is our understanding, but we'll continue to keep Pulte advised. Well, actually, the school, I'm sorry, Pulte is aware. They're the ones working on the repair.
Okay.
Yes, they're aware.
Keeping school advised.
And with regard to that, was there any issue with the shuttle for Friday, Saturday for the church parking?
I don't think so. I did speak with that individual. I informed him that access would be open the full amount of time. I didn't, and I did check to make sure that it was open, and it was. So
That was Rick Bowman, right?
yes, Mr. Bowman. So yeah, I think that went smoothly.
I saw shuttles running out my back door all night.
Yeah.
It seemed like a well-attended event. I could hear the music from my house. And my middle son attended and came home with about 22 balloons, large balloons. I'm not sure what that was about.
Excellent.
We're on to the engineer's report still.
Thank you, Mayor.
For us, Mr. Whited.
I'll go through, you have mine and Wes's report in your packet. I'll go through some of the more important items. Fallen Arrows multi-use trail has been paved. It says on here that it was held up, but it has been paved. And I walked it just before the meeting. It's looking good. There still needs to be some restoration work accomplished, but it's looking pretty nice, well paved, and it passed the proof roll. The reservoir fishing pier and parking lot improvements were, as it notes here, we're working with the Department of Natural Resources on the dam safety program. And Daryl and I have a meeting with them, I believe that's tomorrow morning, correct? To talk about what I've proposed to do as the fix for that, or to comply with their requirements. The Walnut Street stabilization program, which is with that FEMA grant, is received. We got a implementation manual, which is about 1,000 pages long. I haven't quite finished reading it yet. But I guess we deserve that for $500,000 grant, but it does look pretty onerous. We're in the process of scheduling a kickoff meeting with them to kind of get the Reader's Digest version of that. Walnut Creek sewer is still progressing pretty heavy into it now. We'll communicate that with you soon. From a traffic and transportation standpoint, I think the biggest thing right now is we're working on that grant application for the Safe Streets for All. Stormwater utility is finally moving ahead, and Daryl and I have a meeting with Soil and Water next week or week after to discuss the erosion sediment control program and see if maybe they can do something with us like they do like is done with Delaware County with the DESC program. See if we can't enhance our program in that regard. Street improvements is the contract has not been signed yet, but it will be soon. And again, that cannot proceed until at least July 1st. Have a call into OPWC to see if they are on target for the July 1st date. Haven't heard back yet. Hopefully they are. Want to get started as soon as possible. From a private development standpoint, we have about to go under construction 130 Burr Drive, Omnico, Eagle Storage, Ravines at Meadow Ridge, in Eagle Creek. So there's a little bit of activity about to happen. We did receive the apartments, the Romanelli apartments plans last week and are in the process of reviewing that. And we expect soon to get another submission for the Huntington Bank at the Kroger Center and for that ASCO commercial development at Sunbury Meadows. And as you can see, we've had a lot of activity in right-of-way permits. We had 23 since the last council meeting. Been busy reviewing those permits themselves. That is my report. Happy to answer any questions.
I just think since we have a young person in the room, you should talk about the darn safety program.
I'm sorry, Mr. Martin. My bad. So noted.
What do you do with all your free time?
Walk trails that.
You're a busy man, Mr. Whited.
Thank you.
Anything for Mr. Whited?
Yeah, DRK, Dan, did you say they're about to break ground?
Their plans are approved. I don't have their schedule, but they're able to break ground soon.
Okay.
No building permits, just site development.
Okay. And did you have were there any initial surprises with regard to Romanelli's Commerce Park?
Honestly, I first let Alyssa, who did the zoning text, review that. She did get back with me and said they did a pretty good job of following all of their commitments during the zoning process. She did have a few comments. I just haven't had an opportunity to go through them yet. And we'll roll into engineering review now that the zoning review is complete.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Eagle Creek is I spoke to Jim Shrim, one of the developers for the site, and Matt Callahan, representing Pulte. They are coming to zoning next week for a lot split. There's just basically, I think Pulte understands they're pretty saturated in the market and they wanted to kind of take a marginalized takedown schedule. So they're basically doing a lot split and they're going to commit to half of Eagle Creek. We should know a little bit more next week. I think we have their plans.
I did receive that lot split today
Okay, great.
and hope to have it reviewed in time for that meeting. And hopefully there's no significant comments so we can proceed. Mr. Bream, is it acceptable to approve a lot split contingent on engineering approval? If there's minor issues.
I don't see why not.
Okay.
Yeah, it might be a good idea because that's only a one body approval process, right? I want to throw that in at the zoning level.
Okay. Thank you.
That as code development on Sunbury Meadows, that is the daycare,
That
correct?
is correct.
And it looks like 3 other lots that are undetermined.
Right. There, pretty strong rumor is that Valvoline will take one of those lots, possibly a coffee shop, right on the one closest to Sunbury Meadows Drive.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments? All right, we're on the resolutions, third reading. Resolution 2023.13, a resolution authorizing the appointment of members to the Sunbury Meadows Community Development Authority Board of Trustees by the Council of the City of Sunbury, Ohio.
Motion to approve.
A motion by Mr. Martin,
Second.
second by Mr. Capel. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost.
Yes.
6 days.
No second readings. We do have a first reading, resolution number 2023.15. A resolution authorizing the city of Sunbury to apply for, accept, and enter into a water pollution control loan fund and principal forgiveness agreement for the purchase of an emergency generator for the Sunbury Mills lift station, and designated a dedicated repayment source for the loan.
I was just going to say, in a conversation earlier this week, we had talked about the principal forgiveness component of this. So I think with Dan's help, we've confirmed the cost of the generator is estimated to be about $35,000. The loan or the program allows for principal forgiveness up to $50,000. So we would anticipate that the full amount of it gets forgiven if we are successful.
Correct. And if that estimate is incorrect, if it's too low, we'll still be able to pull more than that estimate amount and potentially add some enhancements to the project to use up the whole 50.
Good point. Thank you.
First reading, do you need action?
I think this one is time sensitive.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think
Do you remember in the communication with Jennifer?
No, she didn't say, and I did not ask. It was, I assumed it was, but
Yeah.
No emergency, so you need a motion on suspension and then a motion to vote on the resolution.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments for staff before we eventually move forward with passing this resolution? We've talked about this before. The one thing I would say is there's 2 different bodies that are giving away free money right now. This is one of them, and it's for infrastructure. And we've been talking about getting a backup generator in the Sunbury Mills pump station for quite some time. It's one that Dale, when it fails, Dale is out there with a portable generator, and it has, I'm not blowing smoke. It's backed up into folks' basements before in Sunbury Mills, at least a couple times.
That was 3 Rolling Hills in Pulte,
Right.
well, so it's now being used at a level we've never seen before. So certainly something needs to be addressed for an emergency basis.
Any questions? I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Grumney. Discussion? Roll call.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mr. Martin.
Yes.
6 days.
I'll make a motion on resolution number 2023.15. Second by Mr. Grumney. Discussion? Roll call.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Yes.
6 yeas.
All right, we are on to ordinances. There are no third readings. We have a second reading, ordinance number 2023.12. An ordinance approving amendments to chapter 139 of Sunbury Codified Ordinances. We're gonna let that hang out there. First reading, ordinance number 2023.15. An ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $4 million. For the purpose of paying the cost of improving various city facilities by renovating and equipping the Sunbury Municipal Building and other buildings, including site improvements, any necessary utility improvements, and constructing related parking facilities, together with all necessary appurtenances. Why do we put that in ordinances? No word. Let's use a synonym.
Make you pronounce it.
There too. It's just the first reading. We're on the new and unfinished business. City Council Strategic Planning Consensus Doc. Mr. Hennessy.
All right, so in our last meeting, I brought to you the a spreadsheet that basically showed you some or it showed you the ranking of the priorities as discussed at the strategic planning retreat. Asked for some additional feedback from the council members, and based upon that feedback and the conversation that happened at strategic planning, what I've done now is taken that document and tried to convert it into a consensus document. Basically articulates in words a little bit more kind of what was discussed and what the priorities are. There's no necessarily, they're not ranked in any particular order. They're all priorities of council over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. Yeah. And so, yeah, at some point, I think we would like council to approve the document. I'm not asking that you do it tonight because this is the first time you've seen it in this format, but hopefully what you'll see is that it reflects, again, the conversation that we had, you know, whatever, a few weekends ago. Yeah.
So we have a little homework. Maybe before our next meeting, we'll bring you back our thoughts. Is that okay?
That'd be perfect.
Great.
Great report, by the way. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
like the
Oh, thank
format. We are on to, is it July 4th? July 4th celebration update?
Yeah, so this will be the last council meeting before our 4th of July celebration. We do have a representative of the chamber in here. Thank you, Nancy, for being here. Just wanted to make sure people are aware. So 2 weeks from yesterday, the chamber, Big Walnut Civic Association and others will be putting on the festivities that we've grown accustomed to here. So on the square will be a series of events beginning at 8 a.m. hosted by the Chamber of Commerce, including a pie eating contest. And
Who's judging that? Mr.
I
Hennessy?
think I know one of the judges. So my wife says I shouldn't be a judge because I don't really have discerning taste, but she did. So, but I love pie, so I figure that makes me a pretty good judge. Yeah.
You're qualified.
I seem very qualified. Yes. Anyway, the chamber will be hosting the festivities on the square. The Civic Association is hosting the parade and the fireworks. The city, of course, is a sponsor on the fireworks as well. Parade is scheduled to kick off or step off at 10 a.m. I think we've got, I think all of the, hopefully the council members are going to participate. We will have a float, although we won't. We'll have the facility available so you can help decorate a float. And then fireworks that evening. The route of the parade is the same as what we've had in the past. I don't know the number of participating entrants, but I suspect it's pretty large. And then again, we'll move the festivities down to the old high school for later in the evening. I think they kick off again at about 7 o'clock. The food trucks will move down there, and then when dusk arrives, they will let off the fireworks. I think the plan this year is that the fireworks display should be bigger than last year's. You may or may not remember they did have to They did downsize the fireworks a little bit because of the cost increase, and they had not necessarily, the Civic Association had not necessarily raised enough funds to basically raise it back to the full level, but they anticipate this year it's back to the full level of fireworks. So yeah, so unless anyone's got questions, that's a high level of what's going to go on. I don't know, Cindy, any thoughts as the events chair?
I'll just go for my new business, because I was just gonna say that I know the chamber and the Civic Association are really looking for help. I looked at the sign up Genius for Civic and there was 2 folks signed up. So I know we can't really help morning of, because we're all gonna be in the parade or out of town, but they could use help the night before, and they can use help the next morning. Also, if you'll be available during the day, you can reach out to Mrs. Crawford, because she has a sign up Genius that hasn't quite gone public yet, but she can use your help, especially in the kid zone. And there's some collecting money opportunities that she would like to keep within the city. So she could use your help too. So if you can help, please reach out to Mrs. Crawford or Mrs. Ert, or if you can just spread the word to any of your neighbors or friends that are civic minded, and or you know someone that's trying to. This is a great way to get involved. The first thing I did after being on the Charter Commission was volunteer for the parade. And that's how I think that may have been how I met Cindy. I mean, that is just how I met more people. So it's a great opportunity for maybe a new neighbor or someone that is new to the area, or just someone who you've heard say, oh, I should maybe get involved. It's a good opportunity. So share that word, please. That's my new business.
Thank you.
Yep.
On the 4th of July parade, just to name drop a little bit, all 3 commissioners will be here, and George Keitza, county auditor, and I believe the Sheriff Balzer, also going to be in the parade, plus Abraham Lincoln.
Going way back.
From the grave.
Oh.
Mr. Gross, new or unfinished business?
Nothing this evening, sir.
All right, Mr. Grumman.
I do not.
All right, Mr. Capel.
Nothing to.
Mr. Martin.
No.
And I have nothing either. With that said,
Motion to adjourn.
got a motion by Mr. Martin,
Second.
second by Mr. Capel. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper.
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney.
Yes.
We are adjourned at 7:59.